Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, congrats to the bulls out there. Big day in the sector today, finally getting some shift in momentum and a day for celebrating some short-term profits for those that are in positions. So what has happened over the past few days and why are we seeing strength? It's a number of things. The big reason for today's strength, in my opinion, is the S&P 500's pattern that we've been watching for literally a month. The equilibrium that was going to dictate momentum in September broke bullish in a very clear and convincing way today. We still have the FOMC later in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, that is going to dictate short-term direction again, so we have to be cautious in that regard. But the market's been clenched fist, tight muscles, and holding its breath for the last 3+ weeks, and it's a big sigh of relief and relax today. And I believe that confidence in the market transferred over into the MJ sector as well. We also had the MJ documentary on CNBC yesterday. I personally didn't think it was that bullish. The good thing about it is obviously it gave information and it presents people to potentially think outside the box a little bit and do some of their own research. But there's probably more negative coverage about the risks and fear-mongering than there were about positives. But either way, that's a potential factor as well. And again, what it all boils down to me is that big volume influx. You cannot fake that volume. And when you see $200 million pour into the sector in a 2-hour span, again, we still don't know what it was, and we probably won't ever know what it was, whether it was ETF rebalancing or something behind the scenes as far as some major players saying, okay, it's September, time to go bullish. We don't know, but that is what lit this little spark over the last few days. So CGC finally having a big day. Again, what we want to see is this bull volume, and I've been noticing on some USMJ names and other names which will point out the uptick in volume. And this orange line here is the 20-day average volume, and it's sloping upwards now on names, which is a good sign. So we closed over the daily 12-period exponential resistance. That's a great sign. We've done it a few times, so it's not enough, but the shift is on for now. So we're looking at 2653 resistance, then we're looking up at 2692 and 2770. If I were not in a position at this point, I would probably want to wait for a daily higher low to form just to be on the more cautious side. Again, anticipating that things aren't going to run away from us unless some kind of news came out, because CGC is just going to be looking for a weekly lower high compared to 3434, and we will still have to see weekly trend changes on all these major names if we're going to see long-term prolonged uptrends into the end of the year. So that's what the bulls are looking for with this seasonality shift. But these weekly charts, and this is why I'm in APHA and not in CGC at the moment in my personal account, and that is because the weekly time frame is so much less developed for the trend change. Looking at Cron, bulls playing a little bit of catch up today as well. 1185 is short-term resistance, followed by 12 psychological, getting over the first exponential resistance. And again, just looking at the weekly time frame, we know a weekly lower high is going to form here in the most likely scenario. 1558 is resistance. Anything under that is a weekly lower high. So it's nice to get excited for the short-term bull move. But again, a lot of proving is still left to be done. Let's not forget that Cron gave us a very significant weekly bounce that ended up dropping to lower lows. So great start. Weekly time frame changing trends will have us very confident if and when that does take place. APHA, nice green follow through. 680 has now broken. So 696 is the next resistance level, and then 7 psychological. And again, just inching our way closer and closer to this weekly trend change that is the holy grail for any bull in this sector. If your individual name has changed the weekly trend bullish, you are a happy camper. VFF has something going on after hours. I'll have to check in on that. Just a little bit of upside, not significant volume. So we're looking at that resistance of 7 and 760, and anything on the daily time frame above 614 is just a higher low. The bulls have 10% of space to work with where we can pull back and still hold the daily higher low pattern. I'm still holding my APHA position. At this point, it's a swing position because I took half profit yesterday, I think. Took half profit, and that has allowed a smaller position to allow me more fluctuation in that price. ACB getting some catch up as well. The most important resistance level for me is 620. So 6 psychological and 620. And if we can't break from 620 initially, we have the setup for this potential inverse head and shoulders pattern for the daily higher low and higher high. If we fail 620 initially, that's something to be watching for as well, because again, on the monthly time frame, just like APHA is a monthly equilibrium, we're looking for ACB to do the same thing. Anything above 458 is a monthly higher low, and the bulls are hoping that monthly higher low is being set now. And just pulling off to compare it to APHA, monthly higher low looking to be set, tightening monthly range. TLRY, nice follow through. Look at the volume on TLRY, that's very notable. And the break of 3240 is as well. We don't have a trend change. This move is coming straight off of the low, but anything above 2515 will be a daily higher low. We have to see the clear daily trend change, but we haven't topped out yet. The hourly uptrend is keeping the bulls in control. I would say that anything above, it's not a picture perfect hourly higher low, but I would say 3086 is the most important short-term support level for me. And we do have a bit of a double top at 3254 and 3275. Tightening range on the hourly into tomorrow to be watching to see if the bulls can keep this move up, or to see if a healthy daily higher low has to form. And we have to be watching what that consolidation looks like. If it's on increasing bear volume, that's a red flag. Bulls want to see decreasing bear volume, higher low form on the daily, and then confirm that trend change. OGI, so I've been talking some smack about OGI, but bulls have made the cut for the video today with today's significant bull volume and playing catch up. Hexo, they're good to compare to each other because they're fairly similar. Hexo is still a bit stronger, but OGI doing a good job catching up today. So OGI, anything, I would say the next key resistance, 5 and 528. We did see a little higher low and higher high. Now we're getting that follow through. Again, the volume is what is the most important factor to me. It shows actual significant buying. Looking on the weekly chart, we know weekly lower high is very likely to form because anything under 731 is that lower high. At this point, if you were looking at the sector and looking at, who should I be playing, who's changing their trends, keep a list. Who is in a daily uptrend? Who is in a weekly uptrend? Who's looking for a weekly higher low to form? Because I would be putting every individual name like CGC and Cron and ACB and OGI all in one category. Great move, just looking for a weekly lower high at this point. And that would also help me with some anti-FOMO if I were not in a position at this point. The current positions I'm in are OH, IAN, APHA, CWeb, Hexo. So Hexo 495 is the most important resistance from here. Actually 460 and then 495. And if we are able to get closer to 495, we'll be watching for the potential of the inverse head and shoulders pattern as well. We'll have the left shoulder, the head unable to break 495, form that daily higher low. Because again, we haven't changed the trend yet on Hexo. We do need a clear daily higher low and higher high to confirm that trend change. And we're certainly off to a great start to doing so. I might be interested in a Hexo higher low on the daily for an entry. Hourly uptrend still clearly intact. Next time we consolidate, we'll look for an hourly higher low to form because we didn't form one today. But looking for that daily higher low when we lose the hourly uptrend, and looking for the first bull cross of these exponential 12 and 26 period moving averages on the daily time frame. It'll be the first time we've seen that cross bull since back in January to start the year off. So that would be notable as well. Again, weekly time frame for Hexo, just looking for a lower high, but here's that inverse head and shoulders setup where if we can't break from 495 initially, we're much closer to breaking the weekly lower high. So there's 3 stages of the trend change. There's a bounce just looking for a weekly lower high like CGC and OGI and those other names. There's a bounce that's already set its weekly lower high and is looking for the weekly higher low. That's APHA and VFF. And then there's a name like Hexo, which can break its daily lower highs coming off the low. That's not a weekly trend change, but it's more bullish. I'd say the most bullish is the higher low, higher high. Second most bullish is a break of the lower highs, then needs to follow through the trend change. And the weakest is a move just looking for a weekly lower high. So if you compare Hexo, the odds of breaking 495, the last weekly resistance, are much higher because we're much closer than most of the names that we just looked at. VFF, nice little bit of follow through. If we were to break support of 1130 tomorrow, bulls must change this daily trend convincingly. Although at this point, I like the weekly for clarity, and I do believe that we will see a weekly lower high compared to 1460, and this range will likely tighten up into October. So just keep an eye on that weekly lower high potential. That would keep me a bit cautious. Again, just not getting too excited on names that have a little bit of a ways to go on their weekly time frames. T-God dropped down to lower lows, trying to get its bounce going now, but looking at the hourly time frame, haven't changed the trend. We saw a drop to 286, a bounce back to resistance, but we don't have a clear hourly higher low and higher high. 298 is the most important short-term resistance, and then 3 psychological. VGW, I like VGW just because it's a clear attempt at a trend change. If this inside bar can break bullish, our daily higher low is set at 314, and the bulls then have to break 356 to clearly change this daily trend. If that inside bar breaks bearish, that tells us our daily higher low has not been established yet. And looking at VGW, we've been consolidating down. We're looking for the monthly exponential support to be holding. And it's worth keeping an eye out for a daily trend change on VGW, and it would be of the more clear variety. The other names that we've been watching, their little daily trend changes are these little 1-2 day higher low, higher highs. This is a clear shift with pivot points if the bulls were able to get over 356 and change this daily trend convincingly. On to USMJ. Cureleaf ran a little bit ahead of itself, and we just had a huge move over the last 4 days, 5 days, and we need a daily higher low. 33% move with no daily consolidation. The daily consolidation took place now. Don't lose sight of what happened when the deal was announced. We did not change the daily trend after seeing a huge 38% move. So fairly similar. Can it be different this time? Can we see a daily higher low and higher high? At this point, the pullback's a little bit more than the bulls would like to see just because we closed at the low of the day on a little bit of increased bear volume. So 957, watch the daily exponential support as a back test. Those are going to be at about 940 tomorrow. And if the hourly RSI gets oversold, I'm going to be interested in playing that oversold bounce, looking for the daily higher low to be established. So if we drop down another 2% to 940, we'll be at daily exponential support. The hourly RSI will be getting in the mid to low 30s at that point. But that's what I'm keeping an eye out for, because I definitely anticipate a daily higher low is going to form within this range. It's just a question of how much pullback before that happens, which will dictate the odds of whether or not the bulls can see a confirmation and daily trend change. TRUL still struggling comparative to peers, not getting over the daily exponential resistance, in the red today, and not many support levels nearby. We're looking at 1031 and 991, and just again, the technical analysis compared to its peers, TRUL is standing out a bit weaker. CWeb is another name that's standing out a bit weaker. Why did I enter position? Because of this hourly equilibrium. The odds of breaking the hourly equilibrium bearish versus bullish, I thought it favored bullish, so I did get in a bit early rather than waiting for the resistance break. And if you watched IAN break its resistance today, they move fairly quickly because they're thinly traded. So the last thing I want to do is be competing with a bunch of buyers if this equilibrium breaks bullish and trying to buy at the ask any sizable position while it is potentially breaking out. So I like the risk to reward just because all of my other positions were up very nicely, where I will just exit CWeb if 2265 breaks tomorrow. And if we break this pattern bearish, if it breaks bullish on the hourly, we're looking at a little continuation move, and 2381 is the level it needs to break for the bulls to set their weekly higher low. IAN finally breaking out. So now we care about IAN, and that break of 345 did it. So a nice little uptick in volume, big green candlestick. We've got 360 as a short-term resistance level, then 364 and 386. Hourly time frame's a bit extended, so we will look for consolidation and an hourly higher low to form probably at some point tomorrow. We'll see if the bulls can keep this up. The weekly time frame, still exponential resistance. Anything on the weekly under 431 is just a lower high. But a welcomed shift in a name that's been lagging its peers as well, trying to play a little catch-up with a big day today. MedMen, bear break of its equilibrium, but no bear follow-through. So we broke support by 2 pennies and closed near the high of the day. So that may be enough momentum for the bulls to say, bears didn't go anywhere, and bulls comfortable buying. But we have to see a break of 273. Break 273, and we're looking up to 284. But if we don't break 273, the daily lower highs continue, and the bears keep complete control. So that level has to break for the bulls to prove anything to us. OH, nice continuation. Again, the volume is bulls and over the 20-day average volume. So a very nice move, getting that follow through after the upper wick was not a convincing break yesterday. So nice follow through today for OH. And I'm going to continue covering OH rather than CL because in my opinion, it's better to be in OH than CL because if the deal or when the deal gets approved by the DOJ, you're going to get that premium with OH and then your shares will be transferred over into CL shares. But look at OH on the weekly time frame. Again, not many names have done this in the MJ sector. We had our low, high of the bounce, higher low, and now higher high. You can absolutely call that a weekly trend change. The most important longer term level is 955 from here, but I am very comfortable with how OH is trading right now. And when we do pull back on the daily, anything above 704 will be a higher low. And I have a couple positions, one in a company account and one in a personal account. And the one in the company account is a much better entry, which is usually how it goes because I'm more conservative and more cautious when it's not only my money. But liking where OH is standing. Again, not many names are at 7-week highs in the MJ space. HARV, so some profit taking today. The run-up was due to the spotlight of Harv being in that documentary, the CEO in that documentary. It didn't really talk about the tickers and the specific companies too much, but people are going to put 2 and 2 together and look up Harv. And it was a buy the rumor, sell the news event. People that knew it was going to get a lot of airtime, they got in and took profit today after it aired. In my opinion, they were featured so significantly because CNBC knew about the pending deal with CGC that ended up falling through. But I feel like Harv was in the spotlight with CGC. And of course, it seems the way that things played out, especially with Bruce being fired, that CNBC had to hit the editing room a little bit and probably change the slant or the direction that they were going to take this documentary. So that stood out to me. You know, why is Harv getting all this attention and why aren't they, you know, interviewing 3-4 different US MSO CEOs? And I believe that's the reason because CNBC, I mean, they called the reporter. The reporter was on a phone call with them talking about, is the deal going through? So, I mean, it was all a part of, you know what I'm saying, hopefully. GTII. Key resistance short term, 1233 and 1226. So need to get over 1233 for the daily trend change and the bit of follow through. Anything on the daily chart above 1117 is a higher low. Bull cross trying on these exponential moving averages for the first time in a very long time. Weekly time frame. Just looking for a lower high compared to 1368. So again, keeping that broader perspective in line. We've seen a couple bounces before that haven't amounted to much. The question is this time different? And seasonality would say more likely than not, if we can get the S&P 500 to hit all-time highs, ideally before the FOMC. Again, that's the wild card. So we'll talk about the FOMC a lot in the market videos the week leading up to it. So check into those market videos because FOMC can put a damper on things where what happened the last time we had the FOMC meeting and their announcement and their SPY right here. This is what happened. So yes, we got our bull break. Yes, the market's seeing a big sigh of relief, but we cannot disregard that there is potential that the reaction to the FOMC puts us back into this August range. Still a ways to go before that happens. We've got now maybe 8 trading days or so, but certainly something to be paying attention to. I appreciate you watching. Do good things out there. See you over the weekend.
If anybody has any ideas, I am very curious with these 4 bushes, the same variety and the same shape and size and the same location, why would this one be putting off a giant 6-foot tall top with the others not doing anything even similar? And obviously I haven't touched any of them, but just curious what would make that one so different. Magnolias continuing to bloom and pollinate. Continuing to deck out the trading space here. Got my rocks going on. Got a little terrarium with some succulents. And each morning I burn some sage and frankincense, and I got some copal and palo santo. Get the mood going as I'm doing the whiteboard, getting ready for the morning doing stocks. And I got a big wool rug that I'm going to set here when it's cold enough and do some stretching on it in the morning. Money plant still going. It's got its top growth just starting to get a few more guys out the top. More plants. And it's going to be interesting to see how cold it gets here in the winter. We got this heater already, and I'll probably get another one, but definitely going to have to layer up. And for those who've been watching videos for at least 3 years, this is some artwork from the community farm spot I was living on. And my buddy is transitioning between places and has nowhere to put it. So it's in my living room for now. Some of our friends made this a little collaboration piece, and it's just on some big pieces of wood. Really cool tone to the living room.